Chapter 11, School. He brought them a low type of bake cup full of hot water and a corner of soap cut off like a big cake to wash with. They stood inside of the bowl. The little bear stripped off his bandolier, which left him naked to the waist. He lost no time, plunging his arms in, and began energetically rubbing the whole top part of his body with his wet hands, throwing water everywhere. He made a lot of noise about it, seemed to be enjoying himself, though he ignored the soap. Boone was a different matter. Omri had already noticed that Boone was none too fussy about being clean, and in fact, he didn't look as if he'd washed or shaved for weeks. Now he approached the hot water gingerly, eyeing Omri to see how little washing he could actually get away with. Come on, Boone, off with your shirt so you can wash your neck and shirt. With the shirt on, said Omri briskly, echoing his mother. With extreme reluctance, shivering theatrically, Boone dragged off his plaid shirt, keeping his hat on. Should think your hair could do with a wash too, said Omri. Boone stared at him. Wash my hair, he said incredulously. Washing hair's for women, tain't for men. They did consent to rub his hands lightly over the piece of soap, although grimacing hideously, there was something slimy in the dead thing to wash at least the palm of his hand. And he too rinsed them hastily, smeared some water on his face, and reached for his shirt without even drying himself. Boone, Omri said sternly. Just like a little bear. You called him dirty, but at least he's washing himself thoroughly. Now you just do something about your neck and, well, under your arms. Boone's look was now a stark horror. Under my arms? And your chest. I should think that I'm not taking you to school sweaty. Heck, don't you go running down sweat that keeps a man clean. After a lot of bullying, Omri managed to get him to wash a few more bits of himself. You have to wash your clothes sometime too, he said. But this was too much for Boone. Ain't nobody gonna touch my duds, and that's final, he said. Ain't been washed since all about it. Water takes all the stuffing out of good clothes. Without all the dust and sweat, they don't keep you warm no more. Last they were ready, and Omri pocketed them, ran down to breakfast. He felt tense with excitement. He never carried around a house before. It was risky, but not so risky as taking them to school. He felt that having a family at breakfast with his secretly in his pocket was like training for taking them to school. Breakfast in the house was often a dicey meal anyway, with everybody more or less bad-tempered. Today, for instance, Eddie lost his football shorts and was blaming everybody in turn. And then his mother just had discovered that Gillen, contrary to his assurances the night before when he had wanted to watch television, had not finished his homework. Father was grumpy because he had wanted to do some gardening, but it was rainy yet again. I know I put them in the laundry basket, Adio was saying fretfully. If you did, I washed them, which they're back in your top drawer, said his mother. But you didn't because I didn't, and they're not. Now listen to me, Gillen. Only a bit of history, one more mini little castle to draw, and then a tiny paragraph to write, said Gillen, and I can do it at school. Stinking climate, muttered his father. Those onions heads will rot if I don't get them in soon. Gillen, did you borrow them? I've got my own. Omri ate his cereal in silence, grinning to himself, hugging his secret. He slipped a couple of cornflakes into his pocket. I bet Omri took them, said Adriel suddenly. Omri looked up. Took what? My shorts. What on earth would I want your shorts for? Might be your idea of a joke to hide them, Adriel retorted. This was not outrageous as it sounded. It had, until very recently, been a common form of revenge. When Adriel or Gillen had been especially unbearable, for Omri to sneak something valuable possession and hide it. Now, however, Omri felt far away from such babyish, and he was quite insulted. Don't be stupid, he said. So you did, said Adriel in triumph. I did not. You're red in the face. It's proof you're guilty. I swear, said Omri. They're probably under your bed, said the mother to Adriel. Go up and have a look. I have looked. I've looked everywhere. Oh my God, it's starting to hail now, said father despairingly. So much for the apple blossoms. Under the cover of the moans that went up about the prospect of no apples in the autumn, and the exclamations about the size of the hailstones, Omri slipped his coat on and ran through the bouncing ice lumps to school. On the way, he stopped under a protective yew tree and then took the little men out, showed them each large hailstone, to which of them was the size of a football. Now, when we get to school, said Omri, you must lie very still and quietly in my pockets. I'm putting you in separate ones because I can't risk you fighting or quarreling. If you're seen, I don't know what will happen. Danger? Asked Little Bear, his eyes gleaming. Yes. Not of death so much. You might be taken away from me, then you never get back to your own time. You mean we never wake up out of this drunken dream, said Boone. That's the way you look at it, no. But Little Bear was staring at him very thoughtfully. Own time, he said musingly. Very strange magic. Omri had never arrived at school with more apprehension than his heart, not even on spelling test days, and yet he was excited too. Once he had taken the white mouse to school in his blazer pocket. He planned to do all sorts of fiendish things with it, like putting it in his teacher's trouser leg, when a man teacher then, or down the back of the girl's neck, or just putting it on the floor and letting it run around and throw the whole class into chaos. He actually dared do any of it except let it peep out and make his neighbors giggle. This time he had no such plan. He was hoping that he would get through the day without anybody finding out. Patrick was waiting for him at the school gate. Have you got him? Yes. His eyes lit up. Yeah, I want him. Right, said Henri. But you have to promise you won't show him to anybody. Henri reached in his right-hand pocket, closed his fingers gently around Boone, and passed him into Patrick's hand. The moment Henri let go of him, things started to happen. A particularly nasty little girl called April, who had been right across the playground at the moment's transaction, was at Patrick's side about 2 seconds later. What have you got there? And what did you give him? She asked in her raucous voice like a crow's. Patrick flushed red. Nothing. Push off, he said. Once April pointed a witchy finger at him. Look at Patrick Bluesheen. Look at Patrick Bluesheen, she squawked. Several other children speedily arrived on the scene. Certainly the type of child will whenever somebody's getting taunted. And soon Patrick and Henri found themselves rounded. What's he got? Bet it's something horrid. Bet it's a slimy toad. A little wiggly worm more like. A beetle. Like him. Henri felt his blood begin to hot in his head. He longed to bash them all one by one, but better still, all at once, giant knocking down hordes of enemies like skittles. He imagined them rolling backwards like a long, wide flight of steps, and waves bowled over by their fishing fists and flying feet. The best he could manage reality, though, was to lower his head and keep his hand in his cup stiffly over his left pocket and barge to the chanting circle. He caught one of them good butt in the stomach, which was rather satisfying. Patrick was hot on his heels, and they belted across the playground and through the double doors, which fortunately had just been opened. Once inside, it was relatively safe. There were teachers all over the place, and a kind of fighting, taunting of a sly pinch or a snide whisper was out. Patrick and Henri slowed to a walk and went to their places, sat down, trying to look perfectly calm and ordinary so not to attract their teacher's attention. The breathing gave them away, though. Well, you two, what are you puffing about? Been running? We glanced at each other and nodded. So long as you've not been fighting, she said, and giving them a sharp look. She always behaved as if a little fight was a long step along the road to hell. Neither of the boys got much work done during the morning. They couldn't concentrate. Either of them were too aware of the passenger in his pocket. Both Little Bear and Boone were restless, particularly Little Bear. Boone was naturally lazier. He kept dozing off in the dark, and then waking with a little jump, and made Patrick very nervous. But Little Bear was scrambling about the whole time. It was during third period, and they were all in the main hall listening to the headmaster, whose name was Mr. Johnson, announcing the plans for the end of the year show that Little Bear got really sick and tired of being in prison and started to take drastic action. The first thing Henri knew was the sharp prick at his hip as the insect stung him. For a moment, he was silly enough to think that an ant or a wasp had somehow gotten his clothes. He only just stopped himself from slapping his hand instinctively against his side to squash it. Then it came another jab, sharper than the first, sharp enough the fact that Henri yelled out a short yelp. Who did that? Asked Mr. Johnson irritably. Henri didn't answer, but the girl sitting next to him began giggling and staring. Was that you, Henri? Yes, I'm sorry. Something stuck into me. Patrick, did you stick a pencil into Henri? Such a thing was not unknown during assemblies when they were bored. No, Mr. Johnson. Well, be quiet, I'm talking. Another jab, and this time Little Bear meant business and kept his knife embedded. Henri shouted, ouch, and jumped to his feet. Henri, Patrick, leave the hall. But I didn't, said Patrick. Out, I said, shouted Mr. Henri furiously. They left, Patrick walking normally and Henri dancing about, shouting, ow, ow, every step as Little Bear continued to dig the needlepoint of his knife in. The whole thing was in hysterics and laughing. Mr. Johnson was frothing with rage. By the time they reached the swinging doors and departed, outside they ran, while Patrick and Henri formed a series of sideways leaps to the far end of the playground. On the way, Henri plunged his hand into his pocket, seized Little Bear, and dragged him out. The agony stopped. Safe in the sheltered corner behind some privy bushes, Henri held his persecutor at eye level, shook him violently the way you shake a bottle of medicine. He called him the worst names he could possibly think of. When he'd run out of swear words, which was not for some time, he hissed like Mr. Johnson. What do you mean by it? How dare you? How dare you stick your knife into me? Little Bear dare. Henri keep dark many hours. Little Bear want to see school plays, not lie in hot dark. No breathe, no see, want enjoy. I warned you you wouldn't, and it's not my fault you made me bring you. Now you've got me in trouble. Little Bear looked mulish, but he stopped shouting. Seeing this evidence that the truth was on his way, Henri calmed down a bit too. Listen, I can't let you see because I can't take you out. You have no idea what would happen if I did. And if any of these other children saw you, they'd want to grab you and mess you, and you'd hate it, You'd be terribly dangerous too. You'd probably get hurt or killed. You've got to lie quiet till school's over. I'm sorry if you're bored, and it's your own fault. Little Bear thought this over, and they thought, the most astonishing thing. Want a boon. What, your enemy? Better enemy than alone and dark. Patrick taking Boone out of his pocket. The little cowboy was sitting on his hand. They were gazing at each other. Omri said, Boone, Little Bear says he wants you. He's lonely and bored. Well, ain't that just too bad, Boone said sarcastically. After he tried to kill me, now he's going to come all lovey-dovey. Listen, you redskin, he shouted through the cup cans across the yawning gulf between Patrick and Omri. I don't care how lonesome you are. You don't care if I'm dropped down dead. Only good Injun is a dead Injun. Did you hear me? Little Bear turned his head haughtily away. I think he's lonely too, really, said Patrick in a whisper. He's been crying. Oh, not again, said Omri. Honestly, Boone, at your age. Just then they heard the teacher calling from the school door. Come on, you two. You've not got the day off, you know. Give me your knife, said Omri, Little Bear's sudden impulse. Then I'll put you together. With only a moment's hesitation, Little Bear handed his knife. Omri slipped into the small breast pocket of his shirt to empty, wouldn't easily get lost. Then he said to Patrick, let me have Boone. No, just for the next lesson. Then at lunchtime you can have both of them. They'll keep each other company. They can't do each other much damage in the pocket. Reluctantly, Patrick handed Boone over. Omri then held them one hand each till they see face to face. Be good, you two. Start talking to each other instead of fighting. Whatever you do, don't make any noise. So he slipped them both into his left-hand pocket, and Patrick ran back to the school building.